Story. Once upon a time, as the sun was setting over the Rift Valley, casting the golden glow over the land, in a small village, a man named Kimani sat by the fireplace, tending to his sick wife Wangari. Wangari had been ill for weeks, and she was getting worse. Kimani was worried about her. He had taken her to the doctor, but the doctor had said there was nothing more he could do. Kimani knew that Wangari needed to be in a hospital, but he couldn't afford to take her. He was a young farmer, and the crops had been poor this year. He didn't have the money to pay for her treatment. Kimani sat by the fire, holding Wangari's hand. He prayed that she would get better. He didn't know what he would do if she died. Wangari's eyes fluttered open. She looked up at Kimani and smiled weakly. "I am glad you are here," she said. "I am always here," Kimani said. "I am never going to leave you." Wangari closed her eyes again. She was tired, but she was glad that Kimani was with her. The next morning, Wangari woke up feeling a little better. She was still weak, but she was able to sit up and eat a little bit. Kimani was overjoyed. He knew that she was still fighting. Wangari continued to improve, and a few days later, she was well enough to be taken to the hospital. The doctors were able to stabilize her condition, and she eventually was able to go home. Kimani was so relieved. He had been so worried about Wangari, and he was grateful that she was going to be okay. Kimani took good care of Wangari, and she made full recovery. They were both so happy to be together again. Things went well, and Wangari was now able to take care of her family, cooking for them, washing their clothes, and also tending to their farm. But later, after a few weeks, Wangari's condition worsened. She was readmitted to the hospital, but this time the doctors were not optimistic. Kimani was devastated. He didn't know what to do. He prayed and prayed, but it seemed like nothing was working. One day, Kimani was sitting by Wangari's bedside. When she opened her eyes, "Kimani," she said, "I am so tired." "I know," Kimani said. "I am here with you." Wangari closed her eyes again. She took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. "I love you," she said. "I love you too," Kimani said. Wangari's eyes fluttered open again. She looked at Kimani and smiled. "Goodbye," she said. And then she closed her eyes for the last time. Kimani was heartbroken. He couldn't believe that Wangari was gone. He sat by her bedside for hours, holding her hands. He didn't want to let her go. Eventually, Kimani had to go home. He was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. But he knew that he had to be strong for his children. Kimani's children were devastated by their mother's death. They cried and cried. Kimani did his best to comfort them, but he knew it would take time for them to heal. Kimani eventually remarried, but he never forgot Wangari. She was the love of his life, and he would always cherish the memories they had shared. This story teaches us the power of love. Kimani and Wangari's love for each other was so strong that it even survived death. This story is a reminder that love is the most powerful force in the world. Thank you so much for watching this story. Let us meet in my next story.